There's a place in Scotland where the line between our world and something else seems as thin as a veil. A stone bridge, ancient and majestic, hiding a secret so dark, so inexplicable it makes your blood run cold. Welcome to Overtoun Bridge, a name that, for those familiar with it, evokes images of fog, mystery, and unanswered drama. Here, legends blend with stark reality, and something inexplicable pushes our faithful four legged friends towards a leap of no return. Imagine an architecture seemingly sculpted by time itself, its Gothic spires and imposing arches standing out against an often overcast sky. Stone upon stone, a monument of classical beauty, yet one that conceals a profound unease beneath its majestic surface. The Overton Bridge is not just a piece of engineering history, it is a living entity, a silent character in a tale bordering on the surreal. Here, human artistry and the deepest mystery meet, creating an atmosphere that envelops every visitor in an embrace as evocative as it is menacing. The bridge is like a sleeping giant, watching over secrets too great to comprehend. Every detail, from the wind smoothed stones to the dancing shadows at sunset, contributes to weaving a web of fascination and fear. It's easy to get lost in contemplating its grandeur, but it's impossible to ignore the shiver that runs down your spine, the premonition of something unsaid, unseen. This Gothic masterpiece is more than just a structure, it's a gateway to a wild landscape, imbued with a mystical atmosphere that grabs you and won't let go. Overtown Bridge stands proud and solitary in the heart of the Scottish countryside, an icon dominating the valley below. Often, a perpetual fog, almost an ethereal shroud, curls and expands from its foundations, rising up the sides of its arches as if the bridge itself were breathing an air thick with ancient secrets. This foggy blanket is not merely an atmospheric element, it is an integral part of the mystery, a veil that both hides and reveals, confusing the senses and heightening the sensation of being in a place outside of time. The natural environment around the bridge is equally complex and evocative. Beneath its imposing arches, the vegetation is dense, almost impenetrable, a dark carpet of trees and shrubs clinging tenaciously to the rocky slopes. It's a palpable darkness, blending with the air itself, creating a profound silence, broken only by the rustling of the wind through the leaves or the distant murmur of the Overtoun River flowing beneath. This perpetual shadow, this thick green barrier, only amplifies the sense of isolation and mystery. Walking on the bridge means feeling this darkness beneath your feet, a silent presence that seems to observe, judge. It's as if nature itself has erected a barrier, protecting or perhaps trapping the secrets the bridge holds. In this setting, every sound is amplified, every shadow lengthens, and the mind begins to play tricks, transforming a simple landscape into a theater of ancient legends and primal fears. Overtown Bridge is not just a monument, it is a threshold, an invitation to look beyond what our eyes can see, to feel what our hearts can sense in the depths of the Scottish night. But Gothic beauty and mystical atmosphere aren't the reason millions of people around the world talk about Overtown Bridge. It's not its thousand-year-old stones or its centuries-old history that make it famous. It's the most heartbreaking mystery, the most inexplicable drama that has unfolded here for decades, decades of inexplicable events, of fatal falls, of an enigma that finds no peace. Imagine the scene, any given day. Happy families walking their beloved dogs. The sun perhaps is trying to break through the clouds, or perhaps the fog is already dancing between the arches. And then, suddenly, without warning, tragedy strikes. A dog, one of those faithful companions who trust their master blindly, who loves life with a simple and unconditional joy, leaps. A sudden leap, seemingly for no reason, over the stone parapet, into the void below. A desperate gesture, a fatal fall, a whimper perhaps, before crashing onto the rocks 40 meters below. This is not an exception, it is not an isolated incident. This is a script repeating itself, a story studded with dramatic events. It is estimated that over the years, hundreds of dogs have lost their lives in this way. Some sources speak of 50 dead dogs and over 300 seriously injured, but others, based on local accounts and a longer time span, hypothesize that the number exceeds 600, even 1,000. Shocking figures that defy all logic, every attempt at a rational explanation. And the most disturbing thing is that the phenomenon almost always occurs in the same spot on the bridge, a seemingly insignificant point, yet one that seems to conceal an invisible, irresistible force. The motives? A mystery shrouded in fog, just like the landscape surrounding the bridge. There is no clear answer, there are no obvious danger signals, no visible predators. The dogs are often on leashes, happy, showing no signs of fear or aggression. Then that leap, sudden, quote, incomprehensible. It's as if something is calling them, a silent and invisible voice, a fatal attraction towards the abyss. The owners remain there, stunned, leash in hand, hearts broken, minds desperately searching for meaning in what they've just witnessed. The mystery persists, without a clear resolution, a ghost wandering among the stone arches, an endless question echoing through the Scottish glens. Faced with such a profound and moving mystery, the human mind desperately searches for an answer. The need to understand, to make sense of the inexplicable, is one of the most powerful forces that drives us. And so, Overtoun Bridge has become a battleground between the cold logic of science and the disturbing suggestions of the supernatural. On the one hand, science, with its dogged search for a rational explanation, has attempted to dismantle the mystery piece by piece. The most widely accepted theory, and perhaps the most reassuring for those who reject folklore, is that of the scent of minks. These agile nocturnal animals are indeed present in the wooded area beneath the bridge. The argument is that the strong odor of these small carnivorous creatures, combined with the particular shape of the bridge that amplifies and deceptively transports it, irresistibly stimulates the dog's hunting instincts. Sensing such a strong and close scent, but unable to see its source due to the height of the parapet and the thick vegetation, they leap to reach their prey, unaware of the abyss below. It would, in essence, be a tragic miscalculation, a fatal attraction that drives the dogs over the railing. A study conducted by an animal behavior expert found that the concentration of mink odor, as well as that of mice and squirrels, is particularly high at that specific point on the bridge. And it's no coincidence that the dogs most affected are often those with sharper noses, such as collies or labradors. Yet this explanation, while scientifically sound, isn't entirely convincing and has weaknesses that continue to leave the door open to doubt. First, if it were just the smell of mink, why don't all dogs jump? Why do some react and others don't, even though they perceive the same stimulus? And then, why does the phenomenon occur almost exclusively at that precise point on the bridge and not in other similar locations where mink or other wild animals are otherwise present? Why wouldn't dogs, intelligent animal with a strong survival instinct, perceive imminent danger, heights, the threat of a void? The mink theory, while offering a tangible explanation, fails to completely allay the anxiety. It almost seems like it's trying to rationalize something that, by its very nature, resists rationality. On the other side, legends and the supernatural cling tenaciously to the mystery, filling the gaps left by science. Here, stories of ghosts and ethereal presences intertwine with the fog and silence of the bridge. The most famous is perhaps that of the white dog, a spirit that, according to local lore, wanders restlessly across the bridge's arches. It is said to be a benign apparition, a lost soul who, in some inexplicable way, attracts other spirits, or perhaps other sensitive souls, such as those of dogs. Many residents and visitors have reported feeling a strange energy, a sense of oppression or sadness when approaching that cursed spot on the bridge. The Overtoun Bridge, therefore, is not only a site of tragedy, but a true paranormal epicenter, a magnet for otherworldly entities. This spectral aura, fueled by tales passed down from generation to generation, only adds to the bridge's reputation as a cursed place, a site where the veil between worlds is unusually thin. Some suggest that the bridge was built over an ancient Celtic place of worship, a thin place, as the Scots say, where the worlds of the living and the dead almost touch. This would explain the intense energy, the inexplicable sensations, and perhaps the ability to attract not only spirits, but also creatures more sensitive to their presence, such as dogs. The stories aren't limited to dogs. There have also been human cases, albeit rarer, of people committing extreme acts on that very bridge, further fueling legends of a malign influence or an irresistible call from the afterlife. This suggestion of a thin place leads to one of the most disturbing interpretations of the mystery of the Overtoun Bridge, that of a portal, a point where the thin veils separating worlds thin until they almost disappear. Whispers chase each other, fueled by the fog and the solitude of the place, speaking of the bridge not just as a simple stone structure, but as a true dimensional fissure, a passage between our reality and another plane of existence. Here, wandering souls, perhaps trapped between worlds, are said to desperately seek a way out, or perhaps a companion in their eternal limbo, and who, if not dogs, with their innate sensitivity and their ability to perceive what we humans miss, might be most susceptible to this call. It is not uncommon for animals in many cultures and traditions to be considered spiritual guides or messengers between realms. At Overtoun Bridge, this belief takes on a tragic form. Dogs, with their purity and their acute perception, might be the first to hear the call of these presences, of these restless souls who dwell beneath and around the bridge. They aren't drawn by a smell, they aren't confused by an optical illusion. They are drawn by something deeper, by a primordial force that belongs more to the realm of the spirit than that of matter. This portal, it's not an obvious opening, a glittering door, or a luminous tunnel. It's a subtle energy, an almost imperceptible influence that manifests itself at the most cursed point of the bridge. It's said that the very stones of the bridge absorb this energy, becoming charged with an ancient and mysterious presence. This would explain why the phenomenon always concentrates in the same spot, as if the barrier were more fragile, more permeable there. Dogs, with their superior hearing and sense of smell, but above all with their emotional and spiritual sensitivity, would be the first to perceive it. Perhaps they hear an inaudible moan, see an invisible shadow, or sense a sense of need, a cry for help from these trapped entities. Imagine an entity, a tormented soul who, unable to find peace, projects a kind of melancholy or an invitation which is perceived by dogs as an irresistible call. It is not a call to death, but perhaps to another dimension, to a place where suffering ends, or where companionship can be found. For dogs, the leap might not be a suicide, but an attempt to reach what they perceive, to answer a call that for them is real and tangible. This would make the mystery even more harrowing, transforming the victims into involuntary heroes sacrificed in the name of an interaction between worlds that we cannot fully comprehend. It is a prospect that forces us to look beyond our limited understanding, to consider the possibility that there is much more to this universe than science can measure or logic can explain. So we return to the present, with heavy hearts and minds crowded with unanswered questions. The Overtoun Bridge stands there, majestic and silent, a haunting reminder of the dark and inexplicable side of nature and perhaps of existence itself. Here, rationality falters, certainties melt away like the morning mist. The line between tangible reality and the deepest nightmare dissolves, leaving us at the mercy of a mystery that continues to defy all understanding. It is not just a bridge, it is an experience, a place that touches you to the soul, that forces you to confront the unknown. No matter how hard we try to find a logical explanation, Overton Bridge refuses to conform. Scientific theories, however valid, cannot cover all the shadows, dispel all the fog of uncertainty, and legends, as evocative and frightening as they are, offer no tangible proof, only the strength of ancient belief. We are left with the image of those inexplicable leaps, those blank stares in the moment before the tragic leap, and the silence broken only by the final crash. This bridge is a living enigma, a Gordian knot of folklore, science, and tragedy, a place where life and death collide in a way that is both profoundly sad and inexplicably fascinating. It is a misty, eerie embrace that envelops anyone who walks its age old stones, an embrace that won't let you go, that follows you far beyond the borders of Scotland, resonating in your mind with the silent call of an unsolved mystery. Overtown Bridge reminds us that there are forces in the world beyond our comprehension, that there are places where reality is more elastic, more fragile, and where the veil between worlds is thin enough to allow something unknown to pierce it. And in a certain sense, this is precisely its true nature, its deepest essence, to be a guardian of secrets that humanity is perhaps never destined to fully reveal, a monument to mystery erected amidst the mist and the silent cry of lost souls. If you're fascinated by this mystery, don't miss the next video.